Who's it from?
It doesn't say.
He's my friend till the end. Hey, wanna play?
Good night, baby. Sweet dreams.
Don't forget Chucky.
It's time to play.
It's a doll. What's the worst that can happen, huh?
Here we go, the last movie on the box set of all the Chucky films, but it's not the last Chucky movie that we're reviewing. Show on the box set, Vince.
Don't have it on me right now.
Good job, Vince. So, this is...
Here, I'll put up my hands. Maybe you could put it in the green screen.
That's too complicated for us, Vince.
Oh yeah, I forgot. That's too George Lucas.
Special effects are just a tool, a means of telling a story.
This came out 4 years ago, and I don't know what the length between Seed of Chucky and this one was. I'm sure it's quite a distance between those two.
Took me 25 years. But believe me, it was worth the wait.
Yeah, this came out in 2013, Dave.
Yeah, because he pretty much killed the franchise off with Curse of Chucky.
No, that would be Seed of Chucky, Dave.
Man, I'm still, my brain's still fried from the other review that we just did.
Well, we did drink quite a bit of rum trying to get through that movie and the review.
And when this first came on, I did actually watch this when it came on Netflix for the first time. What, 4 years ago?
Yeah, 2013, Dave.
So, yeah, I did watch it, the day that it came on, because being a Child's Play fan, I wanted to see what it was. And it's been a while since it came on. What year was it, Vince?
2013, Dave.
So yeah, that's when I saw this for the first time, and I haven't seen it since then, so this is kind of like, it was an all-new movie to me, because I didn't remember any of it, to tell you the truth. But as soon as it popped up, and it said Dan Maniaci Mancini, I was like...
It's got a death curse!
Oh, no, here we go again. Because he actually directed and wrote this, like he did with Seed of Chucky.
Yeah, that kind of worried me too. I was like, oh no, Don Mancini.
But something happened. I don't know what happened. Maybe he realized that, he wasn't making any money doing anything else, because I don't know what this guy does besides Chucky. I'm sure he does other stuff. But Chucky, I guess, was his main income, and he killed it. He basically killed it with Seed of Chucky.
Never come back again. Oh, shut up, Ralph.
And this one is really good. It's actually great, I would even say, because his directing in the film was also great. It was so terrible in Seed of Chucky. Everything was terrible in that movie, and this is just complete 360. It's a complete rehash. Well, not a rehash. What word am I looking for here, Vince?
The remequel.
What? Oh yeah, it's a prequel to basically the first Child's Play. And, what I like what they did with this. It was a really good story.
I hadn't seen it at all. I didn't watch it on Netflix. I never got the Blu-ray or anything of it until now. So watching this on the box set was the first time I've ever seen it. But I will say, when I first started watching it, I was like, for the first 30 minutes or so, you don't hear Chucky at all. You don't hear him. You don't hear from him. He doesn't say nothing. He doesn't move. At one part, they're even looking for him.
You're like, Chucky, where you at? I don't hear you. You over there?
Did you find him yet?
Yeah, we found him.
So you don't even barely see him in the beginning, like the first 30, 40 minutes of this movie. He's almost not in the movie. And I'm bringing this up because way back when Annabelle, the first Annabelle came out, remember what we said about the trailer?
It looked just like Child's Play.
Exactly. When we did finally see Annabelle, we were both really glad they didn't do that with that. Actually, it wasn't even about Annabelle herself. It was about things around Annabelle. When you're watching this thing and you don't see Chucky, at first you're kind of like, what's going on here? But as you get into the film, the last half of the film, it completely does a switch. And then you go, oh, okay, now I understand why they did the beginning of it the way they did it. And it's fantastic. I loved it. I loved it. At first, I would have probably said, well, this is just too slow compared to the other Chucky films. But no, this is fantastic the way they did it.
Well, they did the same thing for the first Chucky. I mean, of course, you didn't really know who Chucky was in the first Child's Play, but he really didn't come into it until 20 minutes into the movie because she couldn't afford to buy him for the kid, and so she had to go out and get him, from the alleyway. So really, first 20 minutes of the original Child's Play, he wasn't in it either.
Yeah, but with that one, too, it starts out right away with an action sequence, is what I'm getting at, like right from the start. And each one of the Child's Plays have done that right from the start, there's something major that happens. Even if it takes another 10, 15, 20 minutes before you see him again, there's something major that starts out. In this one, it doesn't really do that. It's real subtle.
Well, one thing I can say, too, about this is the first murder in the movie, I thought it was a dream sequence, actually. I was like, wow, that actually happened? I mean, is this really... And then I thought, her to wake up and like, oh, I just dreamt the whole thing. But no, it was real. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I like what they did there. And from that point until the end of it, from the first murder, was great. And Chucky was fantastic in the film. And he became Chucky again. I mean, he's basically Chucky like he was in the first 3 films. And he wasn't so much Chucky like he was in the 4th film. He was more like he was in the first 3 films.
He still had that dark humor to him, but it wasn't prominent. It wasn't like, Seed of Chucky was just pun after pun after pun, and Bride of Chucky was kind of that way too, but not quite as bad. But it was, they were making him so much like Freddy Krueger at that point. This one, it's back to what even Freddy was in the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
And like what you said, when you're watching it, you're like, okay, well, what's happening here? This doesn't really make much sense because is it a reboot? Is it are they rebooting the series? And I don't want to spoil it for anyone who watches it, but by the middle of the end of the film, you're like, oh, that's really cool. I like what they're doing here. And the story is directly has to do with the first one, too. And that's really cool they went and did that.
They didn't erase what's happened, is what I'm getting at. They didn't erase the fact that, Child's Play 1 through 4, at least 1 through 4 happened.
Yeah, I think they erased Seed of Chucky. I don't think, well, not really, because stuff like happens in this movie that I guess deals with that too.
It's not completely erasing what's happened, but it's taking things definitely in a new direction. And again, this is something that David and I have been saying throughout at least 2 of the Chucky films, with Child's Play 3 and Seed of Chucky, was that with those, he took it in another direction. It was just strange, it was just weird, and Seed of Chucky was just terrible. This one is taking it in another direction, and it seems like, for the first time actually, all of it makes sense, not just the way he comes back.
25 years. Since then, a lot of families have come and gone. The Barclays, the Kincaids, the Tillys. But Nika, your family was always my favorite.
Yeah, and the other cool thing is actually had Brad Dorff. His name's Dorff? Is that how you say his last name?
I think it's Dorff.
Yeah, he was actually in the movie as his character from the first film, and it was cool to see him in the film. He sort of did like the Robert Englund thing and actually put the actor in the film.
Yeah, they put Charles Lee Ray back. The character of Charles Lee Ray is right back in the film again. The other thing that's really cool is they have his daughter. His actual Brad Dourif's daughter, Fiona Dourif, is the star of the movie.
Time to pull the fucking plug.
So you never actually killed Andy Barclay, did you?
What?
No, it's called completion anxiety. It's very common in males. You are a male, aren't you?
I'm gonna kill you slow.
And the cool thing about this, and I always love this when they do this in horror films, and they don't do it too much anymore, is they put a character in there that you want to get killed, that you just don't like, who's just a total, douchebag, and it's just somebody you don't like, and you want them to get murdered. And when they do, you're like, oh, that's awesome, And they did that in here. It's great. And the whole movie was great. I mean, and if I had any problems with it, I'm going to say the only problem I really had with it was the effects, because Chucky was a doll through the movie, but when he becomes Chucky, he goes like through this transformation. You can totally tell that it's not the doll anymore.
Well, I liked what they did with that, though. I mean, how they revealed Chucky, how Chucky actually comes back in this. I liked it. It made sense.
So overall, this is one of the best Chucky movies since Bride of Chucky, and I'm going to give Curse of Chucky a 5 out of 5.
This is my new favorite, Dave. This is actually my new favorite out of the Chucky films.
Wow.
I mean, I liked Bride of Chucky. I would say that was, out of the first 5 films, that was probably my favorite. I don't think it was the best, but I think it was my favorite. But this one is definitely a favorite. This is my new favorite out of the Chucky films, because it was that smart, it was done that well, and he actually put a lot of thought into it and made a real good Chucky film that was just as good as the original Child's Play. So I would have to give it the Golden Machete!
Well, I can say I'm really surprised by that. I'm really surprised. And now, Curse of Chucky is, of course, this month as well, and we're going to end it, obviously, with Curse of Chucky, since that's why we're doing all the Child's Play, because it's a brand new Child's Play.
David?
And I can't wait for it, because this one was so good, I can't wait to see what they're going to do with Cult of Chucky now.
David?
What?
You said Curse of Chucky.
Oh, well, yeah, that was Curse of Chucky that we're watching. But the new one coming out is Cult of Chucky, Vince. Get it right.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, Dave.
No, I was telling you. Get it right.
I'm telling you, Dave. Get it right.
It's Curse of Chucky. Make sure you get that one right, Vince.
The Cult of Chucky is coming out, and we're going to be reviewing that as well.
That's what I said.
Now, Curse of Chucky is what we just watched, and it's the last one in the box set.
I'm assuming this guy, every time he's like, man, I need some money. Let's make one of those Chucky films. Yo?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Or maybe he's trying not to go back to the well, but just has to.
Yeah, and if it continues to be this good, I don't care. But we need to get these extras, because there actually are some extras on this DVD.
So with that said, I'm going to be doing all the extras for Curse of Chucky, because David right now is trying to finish up a bunch of reviews that we did together and some that he did on his own, and to get them all edited and put up for Horror Month this month. So while he's busy doing that, I'm going to do all the extras for Curse of Chucky. So one of the first options you have on not only the extras, but you have right from the beginning where it says play, you can choose that and go in and choose whether or not you want the rated version or the unrated version. And of course, most people choose the unrated version, or at least David and I do. If you want to watch them together and then compare them, that's a good way to do it, right there. Okay, so with all of that said and all of that done and out of the way, the first commentary on this Blu-ray disc is an audio commentary. And you can watch it either, or listen to it, with either the rated version or the unrated version. It doesn't matter. It's the same commentary. So it's a commentary with Don Mancini, who is, of course, the writer and creator and director of the Chucky saga, and this film in particular. And also in this commentary, you have Fiona Dourif, who played Nika in the film, and is also the daughter of Brad Dourif, who also plays Chucky in the film. But Brad Dourif doesn't appear on this commentary. Next we have Tony Gardner, who was the special effects person for this film. And he did all the puppetry and is the one who literally brought Chucky to life on screen for this movie. So this commentary is not too bad. It's actually pretty good for what it is. It's nothing really spectacular, but it is entertaining, it is informative, and it's done really well. Especially after that monstrosity of what Seed of Chucky was, this is a far better improvement. So at least when Don Mancini talks about all the great things about this film, he can actually say they were great things. Because the movie actually was really good. There was some pretty interesting stuff that he talked about in this, like for instance, the very first shot in the movie where they show the house that Nika and her mother are living in is actually all digital. It's all a CGI shot. And he did it this way because the house that they actually shot some of the interior in was in a neighborhood. And he wanted to make sure that these two people were living in this house and that they were isolated in this house. And that eventually, when all the other characters show up, you get this sense that they're kind of trapped in this house with Chucky. And he did a really good job of doing that, because even when they do go into the house, not only is it an interior of some other house, but there are parts of it that are actually a set that they built. Like the whole set in the foyer with the elevator. You would actually think that's part of the house. They did such a good job with it. But it's not. It's actually 2 stories that they just built. It's a facade. And then you have the actual working elevator there. So that's pretty freaking cool, I think. They didn't rely on anything CGI in there. And it's an actual set that they actually built. So with, of course, that in mind, you also have Tony Gardner, who is the special effects person on this film. And I have to say this about Tony Gardner. He also did the special effects for Seed of Chucky, which was terrible. The special effects on that film were horrible. So to see him do the effects in this movie, it's like, it's such an improvement. It's such a 100%, 120% turnaround than what he did in Seed of Chucky. It's amazing what the stuff that he did in here. And he still used the puppets. He kept the whole doll. He used the doll. He built the doll again. He built Chucky from scratch again to do this movie. And he did an amazing job with it. And overall, this commentary is actually a pretty entertaining commentary with these 3 people talking. I think it's so much better. In the last commentary with Seed of Chucky, you just had Jennifer Tilly and Don Mancini. And it wasn't all that good because they got into more conversations than they did talking about the film. This one, they're talking about the film. They do get into conversations, but it's all about the movie, which is awesome. And it turned out pretty good for what it is. Okay, so the next extra on this disc is called Deleted Scenes instead of slash scenes. But going through all these deleted scenes, I can totally understand why some of them were deleted, because they actually lend nothing to the movie. For instance, the very first deleted scene is called Getting Dressed. And this is where they literally show Nika laying in bed, and she wakes up and gets dressed and gets into her wheelchair. That's it. There's nothing more to it than that. The other thing with these deleted scenes is they don't really show anything like to begin with or to end with. So, in other words, they don't show what comes right before the scene, where it was deleted, and they don't show anything after the deleted scene. So you don't really know exactly where it goes into the film. You just kind of have to guess. But there is one deleted scene in here that I kind of do wish they had left in, because it is actually pretty cool. It's a short little scene where they actually show Brad Dourif playing Charles Lee Ray and picking up Nika's father and picking him up after some kind of party or something and giving him a ride home. And obviously with this scene you can kind of guess that it was included with maybe the flashback scenes that they did in the film. At least this one you can kind of tell that. So overall, like I said, most of these didn't need to be in the film, which is why they're deleted to begin with, but I can kind of understand it. But at least one of them, the scene where they pick up Nika's dad, is actually pretty cool, and I kind of wish they would have left that one in. So up next we have a gag reel, and this is, of course, is all the bloopers from the film, all these mess-ups and stuff that they filmed or they made while they were filming. And this is actually pretty entertaining for what it is. It's not too bad. I liked some of the scenes that they showed Brad Dourif just being crazy on the set and having some fun. But they show a lot of Jennifer Tilly, and she messes up quite often, I guess, in this film. But they were actually pretty funny for what they did. So the next extra on here is called Playing with Dolls, the making of The Curse of Chucky. So this is an actual behind-the-scenes making of The Curse of Chucky. And of course they have interviews and things with different actors in the film, including Fiona Dourif and Brad Dourif, and even Alex Vincent, who played Andy Barkley in the original Child's Play, is in this making of. There's also Don Mancini, who talks extensively about making The Curse of Chucky. And then, of course, you have Tony Gardner, who comes in to actually show how they did the special effects for the film, and it's actually pretty good little feature for what it is. It's not bad. The thing about this making of, though, it's a little more of a production, and it's actually kind of a trailer for the film in some ways. But it's actually pretty cool. It's actually pretty interesting and intriguing, and they do show quite a bit of behind the scenes and how they made the movie, and it was so much better than what they did with the last film. So the next extra on here is called Living Doll, Bringing Chucky to Life. Now this extra is a behind the scenes as well. It's a making of as well of The Curse of Chucky, but it's focused more on the special effects and Tony Gardner and how he created Chucky for this film. And what I thought was really cool is he actually shows the original Chucky doll from the very first Child's Play. And they use that doll, of course, as an inspiration as well as a prototype to build the new Chucky for Curse of Chucky, which is really, really cool. But what I didn't know was how extensively he actually got into this one. And they show him literally building Chucky from scratch, doing not only the Chucky dolls and the Chucky hands and the face and the whole works, but down to making the clothes and making the shoes and making the shoelaces and all of that. And everything that goes into building Chucky for this movie. And not only did they have to build all of the stuff for the Chucky dolls and all the animatronics and things, but they also had to build all the clothes and all the stuff for Debbie Carrington, who plays Chucky in this film. Now, Debbie Carrington also played Tiffany in the last two Chucky films, in Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. She played the Tiffany doll, where Ed Gale actually played Chucky. And these are the two actors that actually got into the doll suits that they made. And there are times when you can actually tell it's a living person doing it, but they did it so well in this movie that it actually seamlessly goes together. They really did a good job with this. And Debbie Carrington basically took over the role for Ed Gale. So next up we have Voodoo Doll, The Chucky Legacy. Now this extra was actually pretty cool, except for the fact that if you've watched all the other extras on this collection, you kind of know all of this. And if you've watched all the movies, you kind of know all of this, of what they talk about in this film. But it is kind of interesting to hear all the actors in this film talk about their experiences, not only on the set of Curse of Chucky, but their experiences watching Chucky and watching Chucky all along. So that's pretty much all of what this extra is, and it's not too bad. It's probably the lamest one out of the behind the scenes stuff, but it's okay. It's not anything spectacular, but it's not anything to necessarily throw away. Okay, so this is the final extra here on this Blu-ray disc of The Curse of Chucky, and it is the Storyboard Comparison. Now, if you remember, they did this with Seed of Chucky. They did a storyboard comparison, which pretty much showed exactly what happened from each scene. They had 4 scenes and showed literally just the storyboard comparison. They showed the scene and they showed the storyboard, and everything done in there was done just like the storyboard. So there wasn't anything major difference or anything. Once again, they kind of show that here. However, with this storyboard comparison, what makes this extra a lot better than the one on Seed of Chucky is the fact that they have Don Mancini come in and actually talk about each storyboard that you're going to see. So he actually does an introduction to each one. And he gives you a little bit of insight onto why he's showing it to you and why they change things in the movie and all of that. So that's pretty interesting. And it makes this extra feature a whole lot better, actually. But the one thing I found extremely strange with this one is with Seed of Chucky, when they showed the storyboard, it actually looked like a cartoon panel. Like somebody actually literally drew out a cartoon panel and showed exactly what was going to happen and where Chucky was going to go and who was going to turn around and who was going to look a certain way and where everybody was going to stand. There was a lot more detail in Seed of Chucky than there is in this one, because in this one it's basically scribbles. It literally looks like a 5-year-old drew this. Like somebody sat down and drew out, okay, this is what you're going to do here. Or kind of like what you would see in a sports locker room, you know, before the football game. They're just really doodles and scribbles. It's not really a storyboard. But, hey, it did get across what they needed to get across, and I will give them that much. But how they got what they got from that is amazing. Because in here, it's so much better than what they did with Seed of Chucky. Now, if you stop and think about that, Seed of Chucky had all this detail on their storyboards, and this one doesn't. And this one is so much better. Go figure. So there it is. Curse of Chucky, our review of the Curse of Chucky, all the extras that you could ever want from the Curse of Chucky, all there for you. And I have to say, one final time, I really did enjoy this movie. I think it was really, really good. It was, like I said in the review, I've never been a huge Chucky fan. So, for me not being a huge Chucky fan and being actually really impressed with this movie, that says something. I actually was really impressed with this. And one thing I really enjoyed about this movie was they actually did make Chucky scary again. They actually did make it frightening. They put a lot of tension into this film and suspense, and which is what it needed, especially if you're going to do a film about a killer doll for the 6th time. You need that. You need that spark. You need something in there that's going to make the movie scary again. And by keeping Chucky kind of in the shadows a little bit, or a way that you didn't know if it was actually Chucky doing it or not, that was really impressive. I was impressed by that. So, I've said this all month long and almost tired of saying it, but I have to remind you guys each and every time, please, please, please subscribe to us, hit hit the subscribe button, hit the horror bell so you know when we put up brand new horrifying films for you, and leave us some feedback, leave us some comments. We love to hear from you guys. Tell us what you thought of Curse of Chucky. You know, were you impressed with it as I was? Were you a fan of Chucky all along? You know, tell us whatever you want to tell us. And both David and I will try to reply as quickly as we can. We are pounding out Horror Month now since we're getting toward the end of October. And we're going to be really, really busy here. Getting these last reviews up and ready and getting them all up by Halloween. So, because that's the end of Horror Month, Halloween night is the end of Horror Month. So, we have to get these things done. We'll be back with Cult of Chucky real soon. Stay tuned. Horror Month and Halloween is coming.
So, who's next?